Have you ever stopped to think that someone close to you might be hiding dark intentions? Maybe it's that person who always seems to have your best interests at heart, but at the same time, you feel an inexplicable discomfort when you're together. What if, behind a friendly smile or a helpful gesture, there was actually a malicious intention? Unfortunately, not everyone acts with good intentions. Some people, without us realizing it, might be manipulating our trust, diverting our focus, and unsettling us emotionally. The problem is that these intentions are often subtle, hidden behind masks that seem harmless. In today's video, I'm going to show you 11 signs that could reveal a person with bad intentions. You'll learn to identify the behaviors that expose these individuals, helping you protect yourself and avoid falling into the traps they set. And stay tuned until the end, because the last sign I'm going to share might be the most dangerous of all. It could be the difference between staying safe or getting entangled in a highly destructive relationship. Let's start. 1. Constant manipulation. People with bad intentions are experts at manipulation and rarely leave a trace. They watch carefully, learning your vulnerabilities and understanding how to shape your actions to serve their purposes. The problem is that this manipulation often isn't direct or obvious. It's subtle, built on seemingly harmless comments or suggestions that gradually undermine your self-confidence. You start to question your own decisions, thinking that maybe the other person has a point, when, in reality, you're being guided like a pawn in an invisible game where you always end up losing, without even realizing it. This kind of manipulation is dangerous because it reshapes the reality around you, making you believe that the choices you're making are yours when, in fact, they're the result of someone else's control. The manipulator knows exactly how to act to trigger your insecurities, whether by questioning your abilities or dropping small hints that cause you to doubt yourself. Over time, you begin to feel a subtle emotional dependency and start seeking the approval of the person manipulating you, without realizing that you're giving up your own judgment. Imagine this. You share a new project with this person, something that excites you, and instead of showing support, they make a subtle comment like, "Are you sure that's the best choice?" You always get excited and then regret it. At first, it seems like just a concern, but that single sentence is enough to plant doubt. Slowly, you start rethinking your choices, even questioning if you're capable of moving forward with the project. Before you know it, you're relying on this person's opinion before making any decision, as if they see something you don't. Constant manipulation is a cycle, a trap that's difficult to recognize at first because it doesn't involve a direct attack. It's like a game where they control the rules, and with each move, you find yourself more entangled, feeling trapped. Recognizing this manipulation is the first step toward reclaiming control over your life. Understanding that your thoughts and decisions should come from you, not from a scenario crafted to serve someone else's interests. 2. Zero empathy. The lack of empathy is one of the most deceptive signs of people with bad intentions. They might even show gestures of understanding and act interested in your problems, but in reality, it's all a well-rehearsed performance. These individuals can mimic emotions, yet they don't genuinely feel the pain or joy of others. This behavior is particularly dangerous because by appearing empathetic, they gain the trust of those around them, allowing their darker intentions to go unnoticed. Such people view your vulnerabilities as opportunities to benefit themselves. When you open up about a difficulty or a tough moment, instead of offering sincere support, they store that information, ready to use it as leverage later if they need to manipulate you. In critical moments when you most need their support, they often reveal their true colors through insensitivity, or even by pulling away, making it clear that the care they pretended to have was never real. The absence of genuine empathy is a red flag that this person has no true concern for your well-being. They don't approach you to support you, but rather to gather information and gain from your trust. Recognizing this behavior and setting limits on how much you emotionally open up is essential to protect yourself from someone like this who would exploit your vulnerabilities. Have you ever felt that someone was just pretending to care about you? Let me know in the comments. 3. Satisfaction in suffering. This is one of the most unsettling signs of a person with bad intentions. They find satisfaction in the suffering of others. Instead of extending a hand to help, this person watches from a distance, almost with a dark pleasure as others struggle. It's as if the pain of others gives them a strange sense of power or control, and any support they offer is minimal or entirely superficial, just enough to keep up a facade of empathy. This behavior often starts subtly, with seemingly innocent comments about someone else's challenges or failures. But over time, it becomes clear that this person not only doesn't mind others suffering, but often makes things worse. They might make pessimistic remarks, suggest that things will only get worse, or even bring up past difficulties just to make the person feel even lower. These individuals seize on moments of vulnerability to exert a form of emotional dominance, placing themselves in a position of superiority. Behind this attitude lies a manipulative mindset that uses the suffering of others to bolster their own ego. Watching someone weakened or in crisis brings them a sense of victory, as if they're winning an invisible competition. They feel empowered when others are down, making them particularly dangerous to your mental and emotional health. So tell me, has there ever been someone in your life who seemed to enjoy your suffering? It's frightening, isn't it? 4. Lies. To a person with bad intentions, lying is an essential tool. They lie so often that, over time, you may no longer know what's true and what's false. Small distortions here, exaggerations there, and what seems like an insignificant detail eventually turns into a web of manipulation. These lies don't just hide their true intentions. They create a parallel reality where they're always in control, guiding you down paths that serve their own interests. The problem is that the longer you spend around someone like this, the more you start doubting your own perceptions. They'll tell you one version of events, another to others around you, and slowly, everyone becomes entangled in a narrative they've created. Lies about past events, feelings, and even what others said or thought begin to build a dense web of manipulation that leaves you feeling trapped, unsure of whom to trust. Furthermore, this person often uses lies to drive wedges between people, creating divisions and sowing doubts in relationships around them. They become the central source of information, making everyone dependent on them to understand what's really happening. And the truth? It becomes so distorted and unrecognizable that you lose sight of it altogether. Now, you may be wondering if you've experienced something like this. Has someone ever made you question what was really going on, to the point where you felt completely confused about the truth? 5. Never admits fault. A person of bad character will never take responsibility for their own mistakes. To them, admitting fault is akin to admitting weakness, something they'll never do. If something goes wrong, rest assured they already have an excuse lined up or, worse, someone else to blame. This allows them to maintain an image of innocence and perfection in the eyes of others, while those around them are left carrying the weight of their errors. This kind of behavior is incredibly draining, especially for those who are close to them. They twist situations, create alternative narratives, and manipulate facts to the point that you may start feeling responsible for something that clearly wasn't your fault. This is part of their strategy to keep everyone around them in a state of constant insecurity, always second-guessing themselves and wondering what they could have done differently. You've probably experienced something like this. A work project or family situation goes wrong, and this person somehow finds a way to implicate you, making it seem like you fell short. Even when it's evident the fault lies with them, they flip the narrative, presenting justifications and explanations until, before you know it, you're questioning whether you might actually be at fault. Gradually, this dynamic erodes your confidence and sense of well-being. When someone never admits their mistakes, this emotional burden starts impacting you directly, damaging your self-esteem and the way you see yourself. Living with this kind of behavior can make you doubt your own worth, and in more severe cases, it can completely undermine the confidence you have in yourself. 6. Loves stirring up drama. Malicious people take a special pleasure in sowing discord. For them, watching things go up in flames is not only entertaining, but often a means of control. They're constantly creating drama, spreading gossip, and fueling suspicion, especially among people who are close to each other. Their goal is clear: to fragment friendships, weaken bonds, and position themselves as the central source of information and trust, manipulating everyone around them. These people know exactly how to create conflict. They share opinions or concerns in ways that seem harmless but subtly cast doubt on someone's integrity. They approach each person, making comments that appear well-meaning, but in reality are designed to undermine trust. Before you know it, friends who were once close begin to drift apart, and minor misunderstandings snowball into serious conflicts. This behavior is extremely toxic, as it directly impacts personal relationships and the peace of anyone caught in the web of intrigue. Suddenly, what should be a safe and trusting environment turns into a minefield, where no one knows who to trust or what's really happening. The malicious person thrives in this chaos, knowing that, in the midst of the confusion, everyone will end up depending on them to understand what's going on. Have you ever dealt with someone who always seemed to have something negative to say about others, planting seeds of distrust among those close to you? If you have, you know how exhausting and damaging it can be to all your relationships. 7. Making you doubt yourself. People of bad character use an extremely manipulative and damaging tactic. They make you doubt yourself. This kind of manipulation, often referred to as gaslighting, involves twisting facts and reality until you begin questioning your own sanity. They play with your memories and perceptions, subtly suggesting that you're imagining things or that you don't remember things correctly, all with the goal of undermining your confidence and taking control. The impact of this manipulation is devastating, as it leaves you in a state of constant insecurity. Gradually, you start to believe that your memories might be wrong, that perhaps you're not interpreting situations correctly, and that somehow you're the one overreacting. Malicious people seize on these moments to reinforce their power over you, keeping you in a position of emotional and psychological dependence. Over time, the effects become clear. You start doubting your judgment, feeling confused and constantly seeking validation. The manipulator gains even more control, creating an environment where they are the only reliable source you can turn to. This cycle repeats until the affected person feels emotionally exhausted, fragile, and increasingly dependent. Have you ever felt this way? Questioning your own perceptions even though, deep down, you knew you were right? This is the power that people of bad character exert over the minds of those they manipulate. 8. Absolute control. People with bad intentions have an insatiable need to exercise absolute control over the lives of others. For them, every aspect of your routine must pass through their filter of opinions and decisions, as if they had a right to dictate your choices. This control often starts with seemingly innocent suggestions, but over time it becomes a constant invasion, where every step you take is guided by them, and you begin to feel as though you're losing your autonomy. These individuals are usually very strategic. At first, they present themselves as someone who only wants what's best for you, always offering advice and saying they know what's right. But as they gain your trust, this influence becomes oppressive, to the point where you feel unable to make decisions on your own. They criticize your choices, question your judgment, and even make you feel guilty for wanting something different from what they dictate. This is the power that people with bad intentions seek, not just to influence you, but to shape and restrict your life. Living with someone like this can make you feel trapped, as if you're living under their rules and expectations. Your freedom is sacrificed in favor of the absolute control they impose, and any attempt to break free is met with even more criticism and manipulation. Their goal is to create emotional and mental dependency, so that they always maintain power over you. It's not normal to feel suffocated, as if every step you take needs approval or correction. You don't need someone like that in your life. When someone tries to control every detail of your life, to the point that you start questioning if your choices are even your own anymore, it's a clear sign of manipulation. This absolute control is one of the most powerful weapons that malicious people use to trap those around them, draining their freedom and autonomy. 9. Threats. People with bad intentions know that fear is one of the most effective tools for exerting control. They don't need to shout or make direct threats. Instead, they rely on insinuations and subtle comments to plant the idea that if you don't do what they want, something bad could happen. These threats are carefully disguised, but the effect is the same. You start to feel pressured, almost as if you're walking on a tightrope, always trying not to displease this person. Fear becomes a kind of invisible chain that binds you. They say things like, "You know what could happen if you don't listen to me," or "I wouldn't want to have to handle this another way." With words like these, they create an environment of constant tension, where you feel compelled to comply, not because you want to, but because you fear the consequences of doing otherwise. Each threat is calculated to wear down your resistance and make you more submissive to their wishes. Over time, this manipulation through fear can make you lose your own voice and willpower. Instead of expressing what you truly want, you start making decisions based on what this person might do or say. It's as if you're constantly living with a dark shadow over you, a presence that dictates each of your steps and decisions. No one deserves to live under threats, whether explicit or subtle. Have you ever felt trapped by a constant fear of displeasing someone and facing the consequences? This is one of the clearest signs that a malicious person is manipulating you. 10. Lack of remorse. This kind of person is extremely malicious, showing a deeply flawed character. They never display genuine remorse, and even when confronted with serious mistakes, they rarely take responsibility. If they do seem to admit something, it's not because they're reflecting on their actions or feeling any guilt. It's merely for convenience, to save face or avoid further trouble. People like this are masters of pretending. They might even apologize, but take a closer look. There's no sincerity in their words, and often, their apology comes with excuses that shift the blame onto external factors. Instead of acknowledging their own mistakes, they twist the situation, crafting a narrative where they somehow become the victims of the circumstances. This behavior means they never truly learn or change, repeating the same harmful patterns over and over. The absence of remorse is a clear sign that they don't care about the impact their actions have on others. They view remorse as a weakness, something that could jeopardize their image of control and power. At their core, people of bad character don't see any value in accepting responsibility. For them, maintaining an air of superiority where they're never wrong or in debt to anyone is what matters most. Have you ever noticed this in someone who, even after clearly doing something wrong, never shows genuine remorse? It's a red flag that shouldn't be ignored, as this lack of remorse signals a person unlikely to change. 11. False sympathy. We've reached the final sign, and it's possibly the most dangerous of all: false sympathy. People of bad character are masters at disguising their true intentions, using charm and charisma to pull you in. They present themselves as the most incredible, trustworthy person you've ever met, showing warmth, attention, and even admiration. This flawless beginning is a carefully designed tactic, so that by the time they finally reveal their true self, you're already emotionally invested and vulnerable. This false sympathy is a calculated strategy. By gaining your trust through compliments, attention, and support, they build a strong emotional connection, making you feel secure around them. But once you're attached and rely on them fully, the mask begins to slip. The supportive behavior turns into manipulation, encouragement becomes control, and kind words shift into criticism. Before you realize it, you're caught in a relationship where your emotions are constantly manipulated. This shift from charm to manipulation is deeply damaging, as it causes you to doubt your own feelings and the positive image you initially had of this person. And that's what makes false sympathy so dangerous. It creates a bond that's hard to break, even as they reveal their true intentions. This illusion of kindness and reliability is nothing more than a trap, keeping you emotionally tied to a destructive relationship where they control your decisions and invade your mental peace. So remember, if someone seems too good to be true, pay attention. This initial charm can be the most dangerous sign of all, and recognizing it early can make the difference between safeguarding your emotional well-being or getting deeply entangled with someone with harmful intentions. These signs are not always easy to notice. These signs aren't always easy to spot, especially because people with bad intentions are often strategic about hiding their true character. But now you have the tools to recognize these patterns and, more importantly, protect yourself. Each of the signs we discussed, from subtle manipulation to destructive deception, are behaviors that, when identified, can help you avoid emotional traps and preserve your peace of mind. Dealing with bad people can be a challenging and draining experience, but recognizing these signs is the first step to regaining control over your life. Remember, you can't change others, but you can choose how you respond to them. If you're dealing with someone who shows these behaviors, know that it's not your responsibility to fix them. Your focus should be on protecting your emotional health, nurturing healthy relationships, and safeguarding your well-being. If you've noticed one or more of these signs in someone close to you, it's time to reflect on the impact this person has on your life. Making choices that preserve your peace and balance is essential, and sometimes that means stepping away from people who don't have good intentions. Your emotional security and happiness come first. Now it's over to you. Share in the comments which of these signs you've observed around you. And if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe and leave a like to keep receiving tips like these. See you in the next video, where we'll continue our journey toward a more balanced life, free from negative influences. A final thought. Strengthen yourself, not others. Dealing with people like this isn't about changing their behavior, but about strengthening your own. We can't control how others act, but we can choose who we walk beside and where we invest our energy. You deserve to be surrounded by people who respect your essence, encourage your growth, and value your peace. Each of these tips is a tool to protect you and to help you build healthy, genuine relationships. When you reinforce your boundaries and recognize signs of manipulation and negativity, you automatically create a space where only those who truly respect and value you can remain. Gradually, you'll find that there's no room for bad people around you. Those with negative intentions simply won't be able to affect you. Remember, your time and energy are valuable. Keep close those who bring you joy and contribute to your happiness. The more you strengthen your own behavior and establish clear boundaries, the more negative influences drift away, making room for people who truly matter.